Welcome to Layer the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, another in my series of heavy thoughts. This is where I take a moment to discuss some things that have been on my mind lately. And what's been on my mind lately is, do I own too much music? Do I have too much vinyl? You saw the tour of my room. If you haven't checked out that video, and you'll see how much vinyl I have. But you haven't seen how many CDs I have. I have a lot of music. And I was questioning to myself, do I have too much stuff? When is enough enough? And of course, the first reaction is you can never have enough. You can never have enough music. You can never have enough records and CDs and stuff like that. And I get that, and I understand that. And for me, a part of it, and I'm sure it's the same for a lot of people out there, there's this feeling, this drive to this quest, to hear more, to discover more. I do my heavy hidden gems of the 70s videos. I really love digging around and finding obscure 70s heavy rock, proto-metal bands. And there's just a certain urge to, get more, to hear something new, something different, something you haven't heard before. Maybe there's that one album from this band that you like that you don't have all of their catalog. And it seems like every time you turn around, or every time I turn around, there's some band and some album that I'm like, man, I need to get that album, or I can't believe I don't have that album. I don't know if this video should be up by the time I post this, but I'm doing my music challenge for the week in King Crimson, where I'm going to listen to their discography from beginning to end. Check out the music challenge video for that. And I realized, wow, I don't have a lot of King Crimson. I don't really know their catalog very well. It's not like they're a band that I don't like. It's just that for whatever reason, I've never put the time in. And that's a good example of I'm always coming up with some band. I gotta get this album, or I gotta check out this band, or I discover somebody new. I stumble across it on YouTube, and then I'm searching around to get a copy of it. So it seems like this never-ending quest, which is fun. It's cool. It keeps me engaged, keeps me excited. I'll be honest, when I'm at a record store and I find some record that I've been looking for that I don't have, I get a little bit of a rush, a little bit of a dopamine hit. It's hard for me to walk into a record store and walk out and not buy anything. And I've gotten better at that as time has gone on, because as time goes on, in my record collection, I have a lot of the obvious stuff that I want. I have all the Beatles records. I have all the Stones albums that I want. I have all the Doors albums. I have all the Rats albums that I want. All the Motleys I want. All the AC/DC and Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. I have all that stuff now. So I have all the obvious must-have stuff of the bands that I really like. So now it's just sort of searching around on the fringes, filling in holes and gaps in my catalog. But it got me thinking, man, you've seen the vinyl that I have here. You haven't seen how many CDs I have. If I think back to cassettes, it's where I basically started. It's holy cow, I don't even want to think about how much money I've spent on music. And I justify it to myself by thinking, well, it's a good... It's not a bad habit. It's not like I'm smoking, putting all my money into cigarettes and booze or something like that. It's something that I enjoy. I think it's a healthy habit. It's something that I could turn around and sell this, or my kids could sell it if I wasn't around, and hopefully make at least some of the money back. And for me, it's a passion for me. Some people are passionate about maybe sports or movies or something like that. And I think it's good to have something that you're excited about and passionate about. And for me, it's become part of my identity, music. Here at this channel, I'm a musician, so music is a big, big part of my life. But what got me thinking about this, about if I just have too much stuff, is I was thinking about it. I just did, here's a plug for my Black Sabbath podcast that I do with my good friend Darren, Into the Void of Black Sabbath podcast. We just did, our last episode was on Ozzy's Blizzard of Oz. And I was thinking about, both Darren and I were talking about how we would just come home from school and listen to that every day. after we got it. And when I was younger, when I first started getting into music, really getting into it, I had a very limited, compared to what I have now, a very limited amount of stuff to listen to. And this is, of course, way before the internet. So the only thing I could, there was radio to hear things that I didn't have. But I had a very limited amount of stuff. And because of that, I gave a lot of attention to what I had. Because I only had, maybe I only had 25 cassettes or something. 30, 40 things. And so when I bought something, I gave it a lot of attention. And sometimes because I have so much stuff here, it's hard for me to give the attention to, I guess what I'm getting is I miss those days when I would get an album, like when I got Blizzard of Oz, and it felt like that's all I listened to for like months. It's like it had got so much of my attention. And it's really hard for me to give my attention to one album or one artist now because I have so much stuff. Throw in also streaming where you can basically, anything you want to listen to is out there at any moment. And this is part of the reason why, like with some of my music challenges, I do these because it's forcing me to listen in a different way with YouTube and streaming and everything and having so much stuff. It's very hard for me sometimes to focus on one thing, and I sort of miss those days when it's the old saying less is more. I sort of miss when I just had less things and I just sort of dug into those 25 or 30 cassettes that I had, and those meant the world to me. I would just listen to Ozzy's Blizzard of Oz. That's the only thing I would listen to for like 2 weeks straight or something, And that's the way it was for me back then. And now I have so much stuff that sometimes I wonder, like, maybe I should step back and appreciate what I have. And I have done that. When the pandemic hit, I wasn't able to go out to the stores and everything, and so it made me sort of hold back a little bit, and I sort of forced myself to not be buying a lot of stuff online for a little while, and it made me go back and sort of appreciate what I have in my collection a little bit more. I've also been inputting all my records into Discogs. Discogs is a website, for those who don't know, where you can buy and sell vinyl, and you can also set up a profile where you can input the albums that you have, and it alphabetizes them and all that kind of stuff. And then when I'm out in public, then I have a record of what I have, because this happens to me. I'm out somewhere, I look, and I'm like, do I have this? I think I have it, but I'm not sure. And I've done that where I've bought a record that I already had. When you have this much stuff, it's hard to remember what you have and what you want and all that. So that's why going through my records and inputting them in alphabetical order into Discogs has been interesting, because it's made me sort of sit back, appreciate some of the things that I have. And some of these things like, man, I forgot I had this. And I've been sort of trying to pick a couple records that I will be listening to mostly in my room. I've got a little stand over here that holds the records up. I pick two, 3, 4 records, and then just kind of listen to those over and over while I'm inputting my albums into Discogs. And it's just made me realize that sometimes I get overwhelmed with how much stuff that I have, and it causes my listening to get unfocused. And I think one of the things that was really some of the great memories that I have of first discovering music is this focus, just giving my undivided attention to things, being so in, because I had so little. I really cherished every moment of what I had. And if I got something, like when I started getting into record clubs, and then I could get 10 or 11 cassettes at once, there'd be a couple of things that I would buy that I wasn't sure about. And maybe I'd get them and I was like, this is okay, but I would really still force myself to listen to it a whole bunch of times before I would give up on it. And usually I didn't give up, because it was like, I had so few things. But the things that I had, I just really appreciated them. When I was first getting into Black Sabbath, and I just couldn't wait to get, because I did not live close to a record store. So before I could drive, I was I had to wait for my parents to go to the store. And this might only happen, go to the mall, this might only happen every other month or something. So I would have enough money for maybe 1 or 2 cassettes, once a month or once every other month. And I would just be so excited, like, oh God, man, I'm gonna get Sabotage by Black Sabbath. You know, I have all the other ones. I've got to get Sabotage now, and I know they have it at the store. And I would just think about it leading up to. I know we're gonna go on the weekend to the mall, and I can go and I can get this. I've got my money. I'm ready to go, and I would get it, and I would just be so immersed in it, so listening to every little thing. You know, it's like Darren and I were talking about Blizzard of Oz. We talked about how we know every little squeak, every little sound, every little everything about it because we were so invested in it. And that's the way I was early on, is I had so little stuff, and it really meant a lot to, like, all right, I'm gonna get Sabotage, and then I may not get back down here for another 2 months. So this is I'm gonna get this, and this is gonna be my new thing, and and I would listen to it like crazy, and I would be so excited. And sometimes it's hard to replicate that now. I mean, I'm older, I have my own income, so it's a little bit, I have to put some limits on it, but it's a little bit more hard to check myself than when I was just a kid and I was I had to rely on other people to give me money and to take me to the store. But having all this at your disposal, sometimes it's a bit too much. And so lately, in the last year or so, I've really started to pull the brakes back a little bit on things, and to be a little bit more deliberate about what I buy. And all my vinyl, I listen to what I have. I don't have anything in my collection that I don't listen to. I drew this line in the sand with Ozzy's Ordinary Man. I talked about this before. The vinyl for that is all over the internet about people, all kinds of problems with the vinyl. You've heard me rant and rave about the vinyl quality control. And I was like, I didn't like the album. The production on the album is dreadful. Loudness Wars. Check out my Loudness Wars video. It's a total victim of the Loudness Wars. I was like, I'm not going to buy this. Typically, I would without hesitation buy it. I'm not going to buy it because I'm not going to listen to it. I don't like the songs. The production is dreadful. All these people saying that the pressing quality is terrible. So I'm not going to buy it just for the sake of buying it and then never listen to it. And that was really sort of a turning point for me, where I backed out and started saying, all right, I'm not going to buy something just for the sake of buying. You get this, with fear, FOMO, fear of missing out, FOMO syndrome, where, man, something new comes out and it's like, I got to get this. It's only a limited edition. And if I don't, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Record store day is all about FOMO, fear of missing out. I'm just not doing it anymore. And I really want to, I've been trying to get more into appreciating what I have. All right, so there you go. Those are my heavy thoughts. Let's face it, I'm still going to be buying stuff. I'm never going to stop buying stuff. But by putting the brakes on it a little bit, it's allowed me to take stock of what I already have and sort of enjoy what is already here in my collection. All right, there you go. There's my heavy thoughts. What do you guys think? Is it never enough? How do you feel about that kind of thing? Do you have to put the brakes on yourself? How do you manage your collections and your listening habits and what you buy and what you bring into your collection? I mean, I know that there's a lot of people out there that are like me, or collectors. There's that collector bug inside us. We have this thing like, I need that one album to finish this discography, or I just need that one, and there's always that one more thing. So let me know about you guys. How do you feel about your collections? How do you gauge this and judge this? And what are your feelings on this as you've gotten older and you've been collecting for a really long time? Have you changed your buying habits and your collecting habits through the years? All right, let me know down in the comments down below. I'd be really interested to hear that. All right, and until we see you again, make sure you rock hard, ride free.